Well, I'm Ed Parcaut, and this is Amy Tiemeyer, and we are the hosts of Helping the Brave. Amy, thanks for being here again today.
Well, thank you as well. It's always a
I
pleasure.
think you handled last week for us, right? I think I was
Yes,
on.
you
Yeah,
started with us and
right.
then your internet went out.
Yeah, I cannot believe that. And let's not have that happen today, okay? Yeah. And I didn't want to come back in and interrupt the conversation because it finally came back on like 15 minutes in, and I was like, okay, I'm not going to go back and interrupt their conversation. All right, but let's get to the show. Anything you want to say before we go? Bring our guest in. I mean,
No, no,
nothing, nothing at all. Did you have a good Memorial Day? Did you do
I
something
did.
fun?
I did. We had the honor project, and actually at Homa National Cemetery, a friend of mine who's a Gold Star mom spoke and shared about her son, which was really touching. And so it was a very cool presentation.
You know, the only sad part about being in Modesto, California, is we don't have a lot of that, right? Because we have no bases around us, and you guys have a lot more going on, right? So, no, it's all right. I'll be up there next weekend, and then we can get together and you can show me everything that's going on up there.
Yeah.
All right, let's bring our guest in. All right, Troy Holt, how you doing, sir?
I am well. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Good, good.
I hear you got a ton of downloads from my podcast. I'm just kidding.
I see
Anyway,
Ed as a clown like me.
you have to have fun with this, or you just
Yes,
don't do it at all. Why
true,
waste the
true,
time?
true,
Yeah,
true.
I mean, it's supposed to be fun.
Right,
That's the
it
whole
is.
purpose. Yeah, I sit at the back table on Rotary for a reason. You guys don't know
So you can,
Rotary, but
so you can cut up.
well, yeah, but it's what you're
Yeah,
supposed to do. Yeah,
right.
I was a class clown. You know,
Yes, yes.
how you doing, Amy? You're so quiet today.
I am. I don't ever. I'm coming up with all these things to say, and my one is a more age demographic, so it doesn't matter where I can sit. I can say whatever I want. No one can hear me.
Well, you should get all those veterans to get hearing aids.
Right.
Right, right.
Remember, it's ringing in the ears, not loss of
Yes,
hearing.
right,
Yeah.
right.
All right, Amy, do you want to start us off asking the questions?
Oh yes, my favorite question. Why did you choose the service that you chose, which is Navy? For those.
Navy. Yeah, so originally I wasn't intentionally trying to join the Navy. I was working a job and I was making pretty good money there. I was making at the time, you're talking about in 1988, I was making $6.25 an hour. Minimum wage now is $7.25. So I was making $6.25 an hour, but I felt that they wouldn't treating me right. I was trying to get a promotion, so I started looking for a job, and then it was an ad in the newspaper. A general ad said air traffic controller, call 1-800 number. And so I called the number. It says Navy recruiting. I'm almost hung with the phone. I'm not going into no Navy, and so I ended up. I talked with the recruiter. I gave him a hard time because I said, man, I don't know if I want to do this. In high school, I would run because I wasn't doing nobody's military. And I looked at the Army. I looked at the Air Force. I was like, man, I need to make more money than this. I said, this is not any money. And so he said, if you go on the aviation side, you make a little bit more money. And I looked at the Army. I didn't like some of the jobs the Army had because they had some bonuses. And then the Air Force told me, they said, well, we can't take you in. This was around July when I was going through all this process. And then around September, I left for the Navy. But the Air Force said, we can't take it to January next year. I said, no, that's too long. I changed my mind. So that's how I ended up going to the Navy.
Was that a good answer for you there, Amy?
It is. So, so where did you grow up?
I grew up in Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay, and you said there just wasn't a lot of military around you.
There was Clarksville. The Fort Campbell is about 40 minutes northwest. I'm sorry, of Nashville. So there was the Army, and I had my cousins, my uncle, their father was in the Army. So there was some military, not a lot, not like here in Pensacola where I'm at now. But Nashville wasn't a military city, but Clarksville was.
And what was your MOS?
Aviation administration.
So you just push paper, and please, I don't mean that wrong, or did you tell everybody where the planes were going?
I pushed paper. Now I started off on the flight line and the flight deck, but I didn't like being out on the flight deck and in the cold and in the heat, and so I said I'm gonna do somewhere I'm inside.
There's nothing wrong with that, right? And the worst part is then you could be on an aircraft carrier outside if you're still in those decks.
Yes, yes.
And that there's nothing worse. I mean, I guess it takes a professional to do that, but that's not where I want to be.
Yeah, no, I mean, I did it for a short while, and I was glad when I was able to get off because I think it's the second most dangerous job in the world. So it wasn't anything I wanted to be on, especially at night.
So, was there anything when you went to basic training or boot camp? Was there anything that surprised you when you went into the military?
I think what surprised me the most was, well, a few things, but I think one of the most things that surprised me the most was how I didn't get it at first. I didn't understand why I have to learn to fold clothes in a certain way. So, I'm like, what does this teach me? What does this help me? And then basically, what I found out, they're teaching you attention to detail. And so I didn't get it at first, and later on I see why, but it took, how as a kid, parents tell you something, you don't get it. So later on I got it, but it was kind of surprising me. I'm not learning nothing folding my underwear.
Yeah. Some late at night marching parties kind of figured that out for you, right?
Right. Yes. No, I was pretty good though. I
just remember I got sent because I was in charge, and this couple guys messed up. And next thing I know, I'm out there at late at night, and they're all doing these exercises and all this stuff. First of all, it was a joke, right? Because they turn around there, and people be doing stuff, and they'd be yelling at them, and the guys, it's like if you make those noises, if you do that stuff, they're gonna keep picking on you.
True.
If you just collapse, like you can't do anymore and don't say anything, they leave you alone.
True. And another thing that I learned, was when I got to my duty station. So what I learned is they would have people, they would ask them to do something. And, at that time, I think I was 21, and you have 17, 18-year-old guys in the military, and they would either complain, whine, talk back. And so whenever they asked me to do something, I just did it. And so what I learned was later on, people say when they had dirty jobs that nobody else wanted to do, they said, no, don't get Holt, get the other person. And I learned to play the game. Just shut up, do what you're told, and it would keep you out of a lot of dirty jobs. And so I learned that by watching them and observing.
Right. Well, if you do what they say and make it, it's just like in a normal life. It's like somebody just does something for you because you ask them. Yeah. You usually think better of them than somebody who bitches all the time.
Correct.
You ask them to do something.
Correct.
Yeah. So my dad always said to volunteer for everything that you want to do, because you'll be voluntold to do the things you don't want to do.
Yes.
And if you're always volunteering for things, it's the same concept. It's just a little bit different. Is like I never had to. I was stationed at Fort Drum in New York, home of the Frozen Chosen, and you constantly had to drive like the trucks that cleared the roads and do shovel snow,
right?
Show, and I never had to because I volunteered for all the things I wanted to do. I never got picked up to do the things I didn't.
Right. You know what the Navy stands for, right?
Never again volunteer yourself.
Yep, that's it.
You didn't know that, Amy?
I didn't, or I heard it and forgot it. One of the two, but that's funny.
Yeah.
I just wish I would have learned that because I'm a Rotary and everything else I volunteer for.
Yeah.
But yeah, all right. So you went in. Did you go in for 2 years and then a couple of years, or did you go in for just exactly 3 years? Because you said you were in for 3 years.
Yeah, my contract was 3 by 8, so I was required to do 3 active duty and then the rest reserve. And so I did a couple of years of reserve time, and then my whole contract was 8 years. But I had it was a funny contract because normally people is 4 years, but mine was 3, and then I had 1 year of reserve.
All right, so I'm confused. So you had 3 and 1 year reserves, or 8 years of or was it
No, I had
inactive reserve?
inactive reserve. Yes,
Okay,
correct. Yeah.
okay, yeah, because I was 4 and then 2 more years of inactive reserve,
Mm-hmm.
but then when I went to specialty school, they extended me, and then it ended up being 5 years, 5 months, and 14 days, and the rest of it was for inactive. But who was counting?
Right.
Man, when I was done, I was done.
Me
You
too.
couldn't get me to do anything.
Okay, so then the next question is, when do you leave in the Navy that you're like, I am never going to do that again?
I thought I was never going to have to strip and wax floors again. But our church, our fellowship hall, so it just happened some years ago. So we needed somebody to strip and wax the floor. So it's supposed to be 2 other guys that were also former Navy was supposed to do it. And for some reason they couldn't do it. They couldn't show up, whatever happened. So I ended up doing it and ended up doing a good job at it. And so now I'm the strip and wax floor, and I hate stripping and waxing floors. But that's one of the things I didn't think I was gonna have to do again, Amy, and so still do. But I learned it in the Navy.
Wow, not I. That's not
You didn't do
something.
floors either? Are you
Nope.
sure you were in the military?
Right.
Yeah,
right,
but I was
Amy,
in,
yes.
I was in MASH. All right. I was at a hospital on Marine Corps base. It was a totally different thing. It was not regular Navy. I'm telling you, I got lucky. I was so lucky. I would not change it for anything. And that's what I was trying to explain to Blake. Don't go in as a corpsman in the Navy, because you're going to get on a ship. You're not going to get lucky like I did and got stationed with the Marines right away at Camp Pendleton and ended up coming back there the whole time. And I tell people, it was truly, especially in physical therapy, the department heads didn't care anything about my hair, nothing, as long as I did my job, and they didn't care. We wore scrubs. We didn't really wear a uniform. We didn't have to go out parade dress and that kind of stuff. My son's like, oh, we got to come out every morning and get ready and go in formation. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
After boot camp, you're done. That's what me anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, the Army is different. I was going to say, I don't know if I ever shared this with you. When I was stationed in Korea, I was stationed at Camp Humphreys, which is MASH 4077, like the original.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because we were sitting outside the other night and, on Hulu is MASH. I was watching it and my wife's like, this is such a great show, because her dad used to watch it when she was a kid, and it truly is funny for what's going on. I mean, a lot of people don't get the humor today, but for me as an old guy, I totally get the humor.
Yeah.
Today. Yeah. And for us, when we dealt with medical or dealt with things that we deal with, humor is a way to release that anxiety that you have to deal with stuff. And people, I don't think, get it that aren't veterans.
Right.
That type of humor, unless you're a nurse or a doctor or an ER kind of working that kind of stuff, then you kind of get it.
You get it. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think I don't know if I told you, but I used to work in the burn section at the Camp Pendleton, and they had in hydro and dealt with wound care. And I'm dealing with big old wounds that have been abscessed and they have to be debrided and all this stuff or other stuff. And I'm sitting there while they're in stuff eating an apple. Everybody's like, how could you eat in here? And it's like, the only way I can deal with this is by eating in here.
Yeah. And I'm sure like you said, the humor helped get you through a lot, because you've seen a lot of traumatic things that would be depressing.
Right. Well, funny things like example, I had one of the department heads, he's a physical therapist, and he was helping a stroke patient walk in the things, and we were behind him, the guy's drawers drop. He's right at the cross level, this old guy. And we laughed so hard, but I mean, not everybody would think that was funny, but we did.
Yeah.
Most people, hopefully.
Yeah, right.
Well, if you're in that situation, it's funny. All right. He's like, help me. We're all standing there because, he gave us a hard time earlier. So that was our way to get back at him.
Right.
We'll be right there. Sorry, I'm taking care of this patient. We'll be right. All right. So when you were getting out, and did you okay, I'm at my 3-year part. Did you utilize the Navy the way that most people should? Meaning that, did you go to school while you were in? Did you, right before you got out, you were like, I'm transitioning and I'm going through the courses and they help. So there's 2 questions here. Yeah. Did you use it and help with any of your education while you were in?
So I did. I was able to take a few classes when I was in, but because I was sea duty on the ship, I couldn't take a lot of classes.
Right,
They did. they did make kind of some classes around those who were sea duty, but it wasn't enough. So I did try to take advantage of some classes when I was here. So I'm coming from a city, a medium city. So I'm coming to Pensacola, a little slow town, and I was like, I got to get out of here. It's too slow. And so everything I tried, there was a program called EEAP. I didn't have enough credit. There was enough credits. There was another one that they would pay for college. I didn't have any college. And then there was another one called Boost, where they would send you to San Diego, and you go to prep school, and so you had to be 18, but they put in a waiver for me to try to go to Boost, and I didn't get that either. It was all part of God's plan, but I was sure trying to get out of Pensacola because of my dream sheet said Seattle, San Diego, Hawaii, and Japan. They sent me to Pensacola, and I've been in the South all my life. I'm trying to get out of the South, and so I'm trying to go west or overseas.
Forgot about the dream sheets.
Yes.
Mine wasn't San Diego, but I almost got to North Carolina during that period of time that had the problem with the water at the base.
Oh, wow. Because Marines only were, if you were stationed Marines, it's only East Coast or West Coast.
Well, when we actually went through Corps school, usually if you're on the West Coast, they send you to West Coast billets. They don't transfer you all the way. They sent all of us to the East Coast.
Oh, wow.
And luckily, the top 3 people in our class were able to stay, 2 in San Diego, and I got Camp Pendleton.
Okay.
Because the other people wanted San Diego, and I'm like, I'll take Camp Pendleton. Little did I know I got the best deal.
You're right.
All right. So when you were getting out, right? Because you were 3 years, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, I know I'm getting out. You didn't think you were going to stay in?
When I first got in, when I first went in, I decided, hey, I may stay in and do a career. But then I got tired of the politics. Then I gave my life to the Lord, and then I got married, and then my mindset started changing. I've seen a lot of people with a lot of divorces because of the hardship of the military. And I say, I really didn't want to put my wife through all of that. And so my wife and I will be married 32 years come up in September. And I'm not saying someone can't have a long marriage if they stay in, but I just seen a lot of them, and I just decided that it was going to be best for me to get out. I was going to extend, but I only wanted to extend a year, but obviously be on sea duty. I wanted to get off sea duty, and they wanted me to do 18 months. I didn't want to do 18 months. So if they would have extended me at least a year, then I probably would have stayed in. And then we had a shore side and a seaside, but there was no shore side billets when my time was up. So I would have stayed in for the year and then see if I could have got shore side and maybe stayed in. But I didn't. So I ended up getting out, and I wasn't aware of a lot of the transitional type of courses and opportunities. I didn't take advantage of it because I just didn't know, was kind of ignorant to a lot of it. It's probably, they could have told me and I just probably ignored it because I probably didn't want anything else to do with it.
That was in 91, right?
Correct. Yes.
And I don't, because I got out right around the same time. I don't think they really didn't push anything at that time to really help you. I mean, I was done and I knew where I was going to do and everything, but I just don't think what we have now is better than then. I'm not saying it's perfect, but and they need to do more with what we have.
Agreed.
Yeah. Amy, go ahead. I've been talking the whole time.
No, I was going to say I was kind of the same. I got out, I think, in '93. And of the Army, but I was already pregnant. I was married, like every good soldier. I got married in Korea, and
I thought you meant every good soldier gets pregnant.
No, well, anyhow, and so there wasn't anything for me.
Yeah.
And so I think whether it was they had them or not, I have no idea.
Yeah.
But I think in the 90s, it really wasn't a thing so much.
No, I think it all happened since 9/11.
Yes, I agree with that. But maybe they did still for career service members, officers and command sergeant majors and stuff. Maybe they did even back then for them. Who knows?
I just remember in San Diego, they didn't really care for us to be there. Oceanside, that kind of stuff. No, they just didn't. The military, they didn't. It was the people who really just didn't care. And I think, I don't know how that is in Pennsylvania, where you were, but I just think after 9/11, everybody changed again. They cared about service people, and they cared about what you're doing. And so I think there was a lot of change with additional stuff that's available for vets now that wasn't there before.
Now, I've never known Pensacola has always been a military-friendly military. They really welcome the military. And then, also another 45 minutes in Fort Walton Beach is Eglin Air Force Base. So you have NAS Pensacola. You also have NAS Whiting Field, which is in another county. And then you have Eglin Air Force Base. So it's the whole military. Northwest Florida is a huge military area. So they've always been very supportive and welcome the military here.
I just think it's changed a lot more better since 9/11. But I mean, because before there was, I'd say 50% cared, the other 50% didn't care. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Cool.
So when you got out, you're still in the aviation field?
Yeah, well, when I got out,
that was sarcasm, by the way.
Yeah, well, actually, I ended up being in the aviation field. I worked for a restaurant for about a year. That was the only job I could get for. I was unemployed for about 3 months, and then I worked in the restaurant that they had on base, and then I started working for a civilian contractor, doing some of the things that I did in the Navy. On a military base, and so I still worked in the aviation field for about another 7 years.
And what did you do after that?
After that, I left and I went to work for American Express Financial Advisor. And started my career in the financial services industry.
So, what are you doing now?
That.
Yeah, the financial service industry, financial educator. I'm still in the industry about 23 years now.
Okay, so I noticed on your LinkedIn, you have sort of like a direction of working with women business owners. Now, where did that come from?
So what happened, was kind of, when I started looking at my client base, probably about 95 to 98% of my client base are women. It wasn't anything that I set out or say, hey, I'm just going to focus on women. It's just women would reach out to me, say, hey, I need your help. I got children. I'm trying to create a generational wealth. And some of them had husbands, some of them had partners, but they just didn't have the mindset to think about these things. And so I started looking at that. And then what really got me more passionate when I started doing more research, we see there's a gender pay gap where in most areas and most jobs, women get paid less than men. And so I said, well, it's not fair. Some women can do some of the same jobs. Some women can even do a better job, and they should get paid. There's reasons why they don't get paid a lot of times, because number one, they get pregnant, they take off, or they either, most women take off to take care of a sick loved one. So they miss on their promotions and advancement and things like that. So it kind of said, let me make sure that I really support women and be one that's a male that really support women. So that's kind of how that came about.
Very cool.
I just want to make sure I didn't jump in, because that's how I feel. Women do the job way better than most men.
They do. They really do.
Period.
Yeah.
Give me a woman anytime. But it's funny how a lot of women go, I'd rather not work with women. I'd rather work with men.
Right. Yeah, true.
I feel like I've worked in industries that are all men, and I've worked in industries that are female mostly, and I think people are people.
Yeah. So what would you prefer, though, Amy?
Sensitive and out for drama and all the different things. I think people are people.
I have no issue with anybody, but there's always somebody who has an issue with somebody. So
that's true. That's true.
Male or female.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I think Troy had a comment for you, or a question, Amy.
No, my question was, Amy, what group do you prefer with, since either or it just doesn't matter for you?
Yeah, I actually go for subject matter experts. So it can be male or female.
Yeah.
I actually don't prefer female only spaces.
Okay.
A lot of times, being a female veteran, they always want to clump all the women together, and
Mhm.
I didn't have very many women
Mhm.
with me during my service,
Mhm.
and so, and I'm not. Some of those spaces I feel are very negative towards men
Okay.
and kind of can feel like very victim mentalities.
Got it.
Or even Brene Brown says victim or Viking.
Mhm.
And I like to coexist.
Mhm.
And so I usually find spaces that are co ed
Got
that
it.
are, a lot more fun.
Yeah.
If you don't know Amy, she's a volunteeraholic. She volunteers all the time. That's what her job is anymore. She gets paid now for volunteering. Thank
Okay,
goodness.
right.
So the way I would say I'm an employee of the Travis Manion Foundation, but I still volunteer with other organizations.
Okay.
And so I would not consider myself a volunteer for TMF, even though I did start off that way. I volunteered for a little over 2 years before coming on staff.
Gotcha. Okay.
But what I was saying is you get to do what you were doing already, but now get paid for it.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
and that's true. And my job is full of purpose and passion, and I absolutely love it.
That's
And
awesome.
Yeah. And
So
so
if you ever need to start a volunteer, anything, reach out to her. She'll help you.
Okay. Okay.
I always say if I won the lottery, I'd do exactly what I'm doing now, but with less meetings.
Or
Don't
she'd
you
do it
hate
for
meetings? especially Amy, the meetings that, man, that could have just been put in the email.
Right. Or yeah. And I appreciate and I get it. And I know that to move up in my career with Travis Manion, I am getting farther away from the community piece, which part of that I think is really important. We need to empower those around us to do, many hands make light work.
Yeah.
And so I 100% agree with that. But there's, that's a double-edged sword because that's where my passion is.
Right. Right.
But I think it's important for us to reach out, no matter what our job is, still reach out to 22 people. We have a challenge 22 to reach out to 22 people a week instead of the 22 push-ups a day or whatever you're doing 22. We're like, reach out to 22 people a week to see how they're doing. And that way you can help people. And because a lot of people, not all of us are Amy, who knows 100 veterans she could reach out to, but the rest of us might be 10 or 15 veterans and not have 22. So reach out to anybody that you need to just reach out, because that reaching out to people, and especially veterans, that helps out drastically.
Right. So. Right. Especially you never know what someone is going through when you're reaching out, and you could, I talk about acts of kindness. Sometimes it's just small, hey, I'm just thinking about you. Sometimes that just uplifts somebody. Somebody's just thinking about me. Send a text. Hey, you was on my mind today. Just want to check in and see how you doing.
Yeah. And I tell people it can be a text, a video, it can be a phone call, whatever it is. Just do it, and do it on a weekly basis to reach out. It'll change people's lives.
Definitely.
Go ahead, Amy.
What I was going to say is I agree, and because as a country we're kind of in a mental health crisis, or we are. It isn't just veterans. It is our community.
Why are you picking on our president? That's just wrong.
What? No love today. No love.
I said, why are you picking on our president? You said we're in a mental health in this nation.
Oh, yeah. Well,
no, but I think everybody, we'll all have issues at one point or another.
We do. Everybody have issues. I agree.
Yeah.
Well, and relearning how to be kind to one another, like you said, acts of kindness or whatever, is we have to be doing better to teach doing better.
Yeah, agreed. I love that. You got to be doing better to teach doing better.
Somebody better trademark that real quick.
I was going to say,
right,
write that down. No.
Write it down. Put it on a t-shirt.
You can just watch this and rewrite it down and then quickly go, trademark it real quick and then start using it there, Amy. And the thing about t-shirts is you can't trademark the thing on there unless it's trademarked ahead of time. Did you know that? Like if the picture of, you can't trademark pictures of a t-shirt, the actual t-shirt itself, whatever you
Right.
have on there,
Uh-huh.
that graphic or whatever can't be trademarked, but the logo put in it can be.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So it's very, that's where you see a lot of people have the same t-shirts, like they say the same thing.
Right.
And it's because you can't, unfortunately, do that. So if somebody has some other answers or other way to fix it, reach out to me.
Right.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, you know, what are you going to do? Try to protect everything. Had stuff stolen from me before. So,
yeah.
All right, Troy. It's been really nice talking to you. Is there anything else you want to add? Anything you're doing that you want to get out there for people to know about, especially veterans?
Yeah. First of all, I want to say thank you, Ed, and also Amy, for allowing me to be here, be a part of veterans. My focus is Amy had talked about, it's been women. But I do work with veterans also. So if anyone have any questions in the financial space, I'm big on educating, just educating people how money works. I'll sit down with them, no obligation, no charge, and help them, to be able to guide them in the right direction in the financial arena.
Now, we had somebody on a long time ago, Amy, didn't we, that helped veterans who are retiring and deal with their retirement?
Oh,
Didn't we have somebody a long time ago about that? I guess there's I don't know, because I never retired out, so I don't understand how if there's an issue. But
yeah, there's some strategies that people are retiring that they can do. One of those things is called pension maximization, and it's basically what they do is they take the pension and they agree to take they end up putting the pension into a life insurance policy and taking a joint survivor. So when the person passed, the insurance policy becomes the beneficiary, and they can start drawing cash out of that. So it's called pension maximization.
So it's like old school, like a whole life policy.
Yeah, and it continues for the spouse to continue to generate finances even after the first spouse, the veteran passed. But it's just a strategy called pension maximization.
You have a question there, Amy, because your eyes are looking all over like you have a question.
I mean, that's really interesting because if we had somebody way back.
It's long. They're talking like almost a year or two.
Oh, really?
A year and a half, yeah.
We may have, but they didn't mention that.
Yeah.
So
no, they didn't talk about it. They just say they help people. They didn't really get into that part of it.
Yeah.
That's good to know. I mean,
yeah, it is. There's multiple strategies, but that's one strategy for people who are getting a type of pension like the military, which is called pension maximization.
No, because whole life, I know they're called something universal life, universal, whatever. What are they called now, Troy?
Index universal life is one, and then you got the whole life. And so, but using one of those two type of policies is usually what the pension maximization consists of.
Yeah, because you can take money out of there, put money back in, buy stuff with it. Because I know a bunch of people that's connected to the Steve Sims stuff that help people become their own bank, where you borrow against your own money for cars and houses and other stuff, and you pay yourself back instead of paying the bank with your own money.
Correct.
It's a whole unique, different way of looking at stuff. Yeah. So if anybody has any questions with that, just reach out to Troy. Troy, what's the best way to reach you?
Best place to reach me is two places. My website is troyholt.com or LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn, so you can reach me on LinkedIn or troyholt.com.
All right. Thanks for being here, Troy. Amy, thank you for being here.
Always.
And if you want to, I'm sorry, what?
Thank you, Ed, for being here.
Oh, I try to be here when I can. And if you want to support us, the easiest way to support us is just go to our YouTube channel and subscribe. We really appreciate that. And again, thank you both for being here, and everybody make it a great day.
Awesome. Thank you.
Don't run away, Troy.